So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the project that is extremely close to my heart because I was from the very beginning working on Triggo. I started out as an engineer and I've designed the front suspension together with the steel frame of the vehicle, and then I move towards the PR and business development. So in case of any questions connected to the presentation in terms of business model or the technical side, you can reach me out via our social media. Any private message comes straight out to me. So if you would be unable to proceed with the question right now, do not worry, you can reach me out later. So today I will tell you a little bit about Triggo. And Triggo is a two-seated electric vehicle which main goal is to revolutionize the way of urban transportation. So modern cities face many problems in terms of transport because unfortunately living in a big city, we spend even up to 10 days just standing still in traffic jam, and in Warsaw where we live it's even worse, unfortunately. It is also unbelievably hard to find the parking spot. On average, we spend even up to 16 minutes just trying to park our vehicle somewhere. And even up to 30% of the vehicles are just in search of a parking slot, which is an unbelievable waste of space. The way that cities are trying to solve this problem is throughout the mobility as a service. So one car that is used in car sharing platforms is sufficient for even up to 9 personally owned vehicles, but there is a huge but. Vehicles which are used in today's car sharing platforms are just regular, normal vehicles, and they're facing the same problem that our personal car do. So they stand in idle up to even 96%, unfortunately. And they are standing still in traffic jams, just as a regular car do. And in today's in days of pandemia, we are also we do not want to come back to the mass public transport. So the role of mobility as a service is extremely important. So also modern cities are trying to turn parking into loans because we value green spaces more and more. We have more zero emission zones. Cities are for people, not for cars. So all of the statement seems to be designed strictly for us. And how we do that. So let me just show you a short clip of what Triggo can do in real life, because I believe that imagination is not sufficient in this area. So if there would be any crackling on the line, do not worry, you can find this video on our YouTube channel. So if you would like to rewatch it, then just type in Triggo in the YouTube search, and I believe you will come straight to this clip.
Do you like traffic jams? No? Really not? Well, then we might have something for you. What about a car that doesn't get stuck in traffic jams? And it can be parked, wait for it, everywhere. Millions of people around the world waste their time stuck in traffic. Spoiler alert, it's 10 days per year for each of them. Finding free parking slots is another problem. Two-wheelers, they swiftly filter through jams and, always have a place to park. But they are dangerous and not so comfortable. That's why we created Triggo. It took 4 years of development and a lot of failures. But now we have it. Fully functional, pre-production prototypes. You can drive it like a regular car. But when you slow down in traffic, you guessed it. Triggo can fold its suspension to fit between cars. It then becomes more narrow than many motorcycles and scooters. At high speed, the gear expands again for stability and safety. And yes, it automatically leans in curves. It's time to stop wasting people's time in jams. Take that time back for family, workouts, breakfast, or just more time for life.
Okay, so I hope you were able to clearly see the video. In case not, I will underline the most important things. So Triggo is first in the scale of the world vehicle that can combine the advantages of a motorcycle and a car in one enclosed body. So how we do that? We implemented in Triggo the foldable front suspension, which enable us to change the width of the car. So when we are going slowly, then we can fold front suspension in order to reduce the maximum width, and then it enables us to pass through the traffic jam or park virtually everywhere. We designed Triggo strictly for the car sharing markets. So we designed it in such a way to be extremely robust because of the unlimited amount of vandals that probably would come across Triggo each and every day. And thanks to the foldable front suspension, we believe that we may multiple operator revenues even up to 4 times per day per car, because of the fact that when we are traveling in the morning using standard car in car sharing platforms, then we are just afraid that we won't make it on time. That's why we simply do not use the car sharing vehicles so often. In terms of Triggo, this fear is not existing because of the fact that, as you can see in the video, we can fold front suspension and go through the traffic jam easily. And also you can park on the spot almost everywhere when you reach your destination. So once again, as you can see, this is the picture showing the difference between the cruising mode and the maneuvering mode. In maneuvering mode, we are as narrow as 86 centimeters, and the maximum speed is limited to 25 kilometers per hour. It is, of course, due to the stability of the vehicle. In cruising mode, we can drive as fast as 90 kilometers per hour, and the vehicle is stable in connection with the lateral stabilization system. So it means that the vehicle tilts up to 20 degrees on one side, which is fully functional, but then of course it is also quite fun to drive thanks to that. So a little bit about the technology behind the Triggo. So we decided to implement the technology of drive-by-wire, which simply means that there is no mechanical connection between the steering wheel and the steering wheels. We are changing direction via the central hinge. So we are not turning the front wheels because of the fact that when they are retracted, there is simply no space to turn the front wheels. And the drive-by-wire system have some extremely important business. It's extremely important business-wise, but I will cover that later. So as I said, we have also the lateral stabilization system, which automatically leans into corners up to 20 degrees on one side to, of course, counteract centrifugal force in order to make vehicle even more stable. In maneuvering mode, also the turning radius is incredibly small because it is as little as 3.5 meters, which means that we can turn on wherever we want. And it is extremely helpful to navigate around tight streets of European cities. We are homologated in L7E CP category, which means that we cannot exceed the combined weight of the vehicles, which is 750 kilos. We are limited to 90 kilometers per hour. So in terms of drivetrain, we are also limited to the 15 kilowatts. We've got two BLDC motors. In the prototype that you have seen on the video, we've got four-wheel drive, and the motors are placed in the hubs. But in the production vehicles, we will have two BLDC motors driven by the belt, so the vehicle will be only rear-wheel drive. In terms of battery technology, we implemented the swappable battery system, which simply means that we have a space reserved for batteries in steel frame. Right now, we adapted 4 scooter-like batteries, which each of them have 3 kilowatt hours. But the technology of batteries is developing rapidly. So I believe that in 2 years' time, we can probably even double that. In terms of range, right now on the current configuration, we can reach even up to 140 kilometers. Of course, it is dependable on the topology of the terrain that we are covering and if the AC is on, so on and so forth. Right now, we do not have a straight competition on the market because each vehicle that is narrow is unfortunately not so stable that it can reach high speeds. And if the vehicle is wide, then unfortunately it cannot park on the spot as the motorcycle do, and also it cannot travel through the traffic jams. In terms of our technology, it's patented worldwide. We have the patents protection for the next 17 years, and on the ground covered by our patents, it is inhabited by almost 4 billion people right now. So in terms of the usage in car sharing, especially in Poland, we've got i3s, which is for me personally quite a strange decision to make because of the price of the i3. So here you have in my opinion, interesting case study because of the fact that if we are using i3 in car sharing, the payback period may be even up to 60 months. And because of the Triggo's ability to multiply the revenues, because of the fact that we do not need to be worried about being late because we can travel through traffic jams, the payback period can be reduced even up to 5 months. Application of the Triggo. So as I said, we are aiming towards the mobility as a service model, but there is one important question, one important statement, because as I said earlier, we adapted the drive-by-wire system, which simply means that we can easily adapt the autonomy to the vehicle, because there is simply no difference if the the main computer is listening through the real human inputs or another computer. So it's give us a lot of possibility, because we can adapt our vehicle to the last mile delivery. So the Triggo is modularly built, so we can easily adapt different chassis on our underbody, so that we can adapt it to be just a cargo version. And the biggest selling point for us is robotaxi in the future. We are not aiming for the full autonomy as other manufacturers do. We are just aiming for the semi-autonomy, let's say, because we want Triggo just to be repositioned automatically, not to be self-driven. So what we need from the semi-autonomy, as I said, we need to be able to send vehicles through the area to the areas where it's most needed, which mobility as a service unfortunately lacking in that possibility. And this is the business model which give the highest revenues possible, because we combine the business model of Uber all together with the mobility as a service, because we do not need a driver to set vehicle where it's needed, but we can have extremely high margin revenues which coming from the mobility as a service. So we are aiming toward the shared mobility market just simply because of the fact that it's growing at unbelievable pace, up to 33% per year. And we do believe that we can have monopoly in the case of shared market, because of the fact that no other vehicle is purposely built for the mobility as a service. So that was all. Thank you very much for your attention. And in case of any question, I am open right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Adam. Is there anybody else, anybody that would like to pose a question? You could raise your hand if you have any questions. Anyway, since
Okay, I see that we've got a question from Luca.
yes.
Right.
Yes, Luca, could you unmute your microphone?
Yes. Hello. Yeah, I wasn't able to unmute before, so that's the point.
Yeah, I had the same problem, so I understand you.
So yeah. The host has to allow it. Okay, great. It was a very interesting application. Obviously, I'm one of the next speakers, so I have a very relevant question also to my presentation. And it is, why have you chosen to go away from hub motors to belt-driven motors? Was it simply because of cost, or do you have any other reasons?
So it was, this decision was made due to the comfort of our future users. So unfortunately, hub motors have huge unsprung mass. And in that case, we needed to reduce it to make Triggo more comfortable for the end user. So this is this was the decision-making process that we had. Of course, hub motors are much easier to apply, of course, but unfortunately, in case that we are aiming for the shared mobility market, also the comfort of end user is extremely important.
Any other questions? Indeed, it was a very interesting and innovative application. I really have a lot of questions that I would like you, technical more questions. but I don't think this is the opportunity to ask them. So I take. I would like to communicate with you maybe a few days later.
Okay.
And I would be delighted to meet you in Poland when our event takes place there. Just allow me a question. You mentioned several times that you use drive-by-wire.
Yep.
So just a simple question. Do you have any backup for the batteries in case any failure?
Yeah, of course. So we are using two backups batteries for the vehicle. So in case if anything went wrong with our main battery, then we have two backups just to be able to steer the vehicle even though the main battery is dead. So yeah, we do have a backup.
Okay, and I hope that the rest of the drivers on the road pay attention to treat the Triggo car with respect, because going between the other cars is not always that safe, especially in Greece.
Yeah, so it's all, of course, it's highly dependable on the country that you are traveling in. But for example, in Poland, we are doing it quite frequently, and there was, I think that everyone are smiling, and there was nothing bad that happened to us. And of course, as I said, it's highly dependable on the culture of the country. But you have still plenty of Triggo usage to do so. If you are not willing to travel through the traffic jam, you can also always use the Triggo to park efficiently in the city center. So.
Let's hope that this will remain also in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you again. Thank you for being with us.